Have you ever looked at a map and wondered, why is Alaska so massive, yet so empty? Why do so few people live in a state with untouched wilderness, towering mountains, and more coastline than the rest of the U.S. combined? What's the catch? Well, you're about to find out. This isn't just about snow and moose. This is a deep dive into the raw, unfiltered truth of why Alaska remains one of the most sparsely populated places on Earth. But before we dive in, take a second to hit that like button if you're into mind-blowing geography or hidden truths about the world. Drop a comment and tell us, could you survive in Alaska's wild extremes? And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. We uncover the untold stories most people never think to ask. All right, bundle up. It's going to be a wild ride. Alaska is infamous for its extreme and unpredictable weather. The state straddles the Arctic Circle, and many areas face temperatures that dip well below freezing for months at a time. In Fairbanks, it's not unusual for the mercury to drop to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit in winter. In Barrow, the northernmost city in the U.S., the sun sets in late November and doesn't rise again until late January. That's over 60 straight days of darkness, which can wreak havoc on mental health and circadian rhythms. The winter isn't just cold, it's long. Snowfall can start in September and last through May. And let's not forget the wind chill. In places like Nome, a minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit day can feel like minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind howling off the Bering Sea. For people unfamiliar with life in the Arctic, this isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Roads become treacherous, pipes freeze, and frostbite is a daily threat. People live with emergency kits in their cars in case they get stranded, because rescue can take hours. It's not just the cold, it's the relentlessness of it that wears people down. Alaska's size is mind-blowing. At over 663,000 square miles, it's more than twice the size of Texas. But despite this massive land area, it's extremely isolated. The state is not connected to the U.S. mainland. You have to either fly or drive through Canada to get there. And that drive? It's a whopping 2,200 miles from Seattle to Anchorage. For rural communities, isolation is even more intense. A simple grocery run might involve a bush plane or an hours-long snowmobile trek. Isolation also impacts mental health. The combination of long winters, dark days, and lack of social outlets creates a sense of loneliness that's hard to describe unless you've lived it. It's one thing to be remote, and another to feel completely cut off from the rest of the world. People who move to Alaska often do so for adventure, but those who leave cite isolation as one of the hardest parts of life in the state. Alaska's beauty comes with a price, literally. Alaska may not charge a state income or sales tax, but don't let that fool you. Living there is anything but cheap. Because much of the state isn't accessible by road, most goods have to be flown in or shipped by barge, often from thousands of miles away. A gallon of milk in a rural village can cost $12. A box of cereal, close to $10. In remote towns, fast food chains are rare, and if they exist, they're shockingly expensive. Even in Anchorage, which is Alaska's economic hub, the cost of living is about 30% higher than the national average. Housing prices are inflated due to the high cost of materials and labor. Energy costs are through the roof. Heating oil and electricity bills routinely exceed $300, $500 per month in the winter. And because job opportunities are limited, especially outside of government or oil work, wages often don't keep pace with the expenses. For someone trying to build a life, these financial hurdles can make Alaska feel nearly unlivable. From 2016 to 2023, Alaska lost more residents than it gained. In fact, it's one of only a few U.S. states that has experienced net outmigration for several years in a row. The reasons vary: high living costs, harsh winters, limited career advancement, and the difficulties of raising a family in such a rugged environment. Many young people leave for college and never return. This brain drain is compounded by the fact that the state lacks key educational institutions. There's no in-state law school or medical school, so students who leave to study often find better job opportunities elsewhere. Meanwhile, the older population is growing, which puts more strain on healthcare and social services. It's a vicious cycle. Fewer people means fewer services, which encourages even more people to leave. For families considering a move, education is a major factor, and in Alaska, it's a complicated picture. While there are excellent teachers and some strong programs, especially in Anchorage and Juneau, rural school districts face serious challenges. Teacher shortages are common and turnover is high. Some schools can't offer art, music, or AP classes. The state's university system has faced ongoing budget cuts, leading to program closures, faculty layoffs, and declining enrollment. In rural areas, online classes are often the only option, but with poor internet access, that's hardly a solution. The lack of post-secondary options forces ambitious students to leave the state, and very few return to settle down. It's a quiet crisis that affects the state's long-term development and community cohesion. So what do you think so far? Could you handle Alaska's brutal winters, or does the idea of a $12 gallon of milk already have you second-guessing? We want to hear from you. Comment below, which of these reasons shocks you the most? And if you've ever thought about moving to Alaska, let us know what changed your mind. Also, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want to see more deep dives like this, maybe a video on the world's most isolated cities or the harshest places people still call home, hit that like button so we know. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode of eye-opening content just like this. In Alaska, wildlife isn't just nearby, it's everywhere. Living in Alaska means coexisting with a wide variety of wildlife, some of which can be quite dangerous. Black bears, grizzly bears, and moose are regular visitors to residential areas, especially in the summer and fall. There are stories every year of people being mauled while walking their dogs or hiking. Moose, despite their goofy appearance, are extremely aggressive and responsible for more human injuries in Alaska than bears. Wolves and coyotes are also present, especially in rural communities where they may threaten pets or livestock. In some areas, you're required to carry bear spray or even firearms when hiking or camping. For newcomers, the presence of large, potentially deadly animals near schools, playgrounds, and backyards is a major deterrent. It's a wild place, and nature doesn't play by city rules. Alaska is beautiful, but beauty doesn't equal livability. Much of the state is defined by unforgiving terrain. Towering mountain ranges cut across the land, massive rivers snake through remote valleys, and vast swaths of tundra and wetlands dominate the landscape. Over half the state is underlain by permafrost, a layer of frozen ground that's incredibly difficult to build on. When permafrost melts due to warming temperatures, it can cause the ground to shift and structures to collapse. Roads buckle, pipelines break, and houses tilt. Earthquakes are also common. Alaska experiences more seismic activity than any other state, including the second most powerful quake in U.S. history, a 9.2 magnitude monster in 1964. Nature in Alaska is majestic, but it's also a constant challenge to modern life. While Alaska has made significant strides in developing its infrastructure over the last few decades, many communities still lack basic services. The state has over 200 rural villages that aren't connected to a road system at all. These places are accessible only by plane, boat, or snowmobile. In the lower 48, you can usually hop in a car and drive to the nearest hospital, but in parts of Alaska, a medical emergency might require a $30,000 medevac flight. Internet access in rural Alaska is often painfully slow, with limited broadband access and high prices. Some areas are still relying on satellite for basic connectivity. Cell service drops off entirely outside of major cities. Even public utilities like water and sewage are not a given. Many villages rely on honey buckets, literal buckets used as toilets, and clean water is hauled by hand or delivered in weekly tanks. The state has started initiatives to address this, but progress is slow and costly, especially in places where frozen ground and shifting permafrost make construction almost impossible. Alaska's economy is a classic example of don't put all your eggs in one basket. Roughly 85% of the state's unrestricted revenue has historically come from oil production. When oil prices are high, Alaska thrives. When they plummet, the entire state suffers. During the oil crash of 2014-2016, thousands of jobs were lost, state services were cut, and the economy stagnated. The state tried to compensate with its permanent fund dividend, a payout to residents from oil revenues, but even that has been slashed in recent years. Fishing, another pillar of the economy, has also been hit hard. Climate change has disrupted salmon migration, and competition from international fleets has made it harder for Alaskans to make a living. Tourism is big, but it's seasonal, and extremely vulnerable to global shocks, as seen in the COVID-19 pandemic, when cruise ships stopped docking, wiping out entire towns' economies overnight. Without a diverse economic base, people looking for job stability often choose to leave for greener pastures. Few places in the world are experiencing the effects of climate change as rapidly as Alaska. The average temperature in the state has increased by more than 3 degrees Fahrenheit since 1970. More than twice the rate of the rest of the U.S. permafrost is thawing, causing infrastructure collapse and erosion. Entire villages like Shishmaref and Nutak are being forced to relocate due to rising sea levels and disappearing shorelines. The warming climate is also devastating to wildlife. Salmon are dying in overheated rivers. Caribou herds are dwindling. Subsistence hunting and fishing, essential for many indigenous communities, is becoming increasingly difficult. The environment in Alaska is changing faster than residents can adapt, creating uncertainty and displacement. For many, it's not just a matter of comfort or cost, it's a matter of survival. Alaska is a land of extremes, beautiful, brutal, and barely tamed. It's no wonder so few people live there. But maybe that's exactly what makes it so captivating. Whether it's the cost, the cold, or the sheer isolation, one thing's clear: Alaska isn't for everyone. If this video gave you something to think about, smash that like button, subscribe for more content that explores the hidden corners of our world, and share this video with someone who thinks they could tough it out up north. And hey, let us know in the comments, could you live in Alaska, or would you be on the next plane out? Until next time, stay curious, stay adventurous, and stay warm.